I wanted to talk about the Black Album and Lovesexy, the whole debacle around that. Um, and the reason why I want to ask, obviously, is for a variety of reasons, but to start, what was your title at that time during the Black Album and Lovesexy?
Ooh, at that time, I was director of security, but that's definitely, particularly with the Black Album thing, that was the liaison thing. I mean, it was him walking out to me, cancel the record, call the label, call management, whatever. I'm not doing it, and then the questions kind of flow.
So
Yes.
I'm pretty sure here that everyone knows, but I know that we actually have like a bunch of we have a lot of people that don't know a lot of the things that us Purple Circle folks do. But here's the story: 1987, Prince records the Black Album, and it's done. It's not. It's kind of the same Black Album that you guys got later in the 90s, but it's not. Um, and it's done. It's sent to the printers. It's ready for distribution, and then Prince has an epiphany. Some say it's induced by a night on ecstasy. Don't get your panties in a bunch. Don't get your panties in a bunch. That's what people have said. But one second while we're here, though. Engineer Susan Rogers said that Prince was definitely on something that night. In, I guess, in 1988, Dr. Fink said the same thing. And Dr. Fink actually told the Telegraph that you told him that. So technically, it's already out there by two sources already. There was something going on with Prince that evening when he came to that epiphany that the Black Album is evil. I don't want anything to do with it. So I will allow you to plead the fifth here, but I wouldn't be doing my journalistic duty if I didn't ask. And to be clear, for everyone here in the Purple Circle, Prince did not take recreational drugs. We know that. Right. It's important that we not tarnish his legacy. But would you agree that he was in a different headspace when that whole thing occurred? Were you there when that happened? When he came to tell you this has got to stop, you got to pull this album? What was going on that night?
Yeah, so I was in the lobby of Paisley at the time, and we had, I think, had met Ingrid Chavez that night. We were at a club in Uptown, Williams Pub, I think it was, and so we went back to play the album. And so he was in the studio. I was just wanting to go home because it was late, but I was waiting for them to get done with playing the album. It's probably going to take Ingrid back. And then he came out and said, I'm not going to do the record, release it. I never, and honestly, I never saw Prince take drugs. I mean, it just wasn't his thing. It wasn't what he did.
Right.
As far as I heard that too, that Matt said that I told him that, but sorry, Fink. So I wouldn't, if I had that conversation, definitely wouldn't have had that with Matt. So I'll just leave that there.
You would have said, this is just between you and me.
Yeah, no, yes, we just didn't have that kind of relationship.
Right. Yeah.
So I always thought, honestly, that something had just kind of like, you said epiphany. It was that. And, that sounds, well, you're going to cancel a whole album. You're going to, go through all this. But for Prince, that was normal. As I said, you could have any conversation with this guy and he could turn that into more than just the thought. And so him being provoked by whatever it was that just makes him decide to go in the direction of Lovesexy, for me, I didn't find it stunning. I didn't find it shocking. And I remember that night we were driving around and I told him, I says, welcome back, because he had been troubled just about, I don't know, music or, what that was that next thing going to be. And I think
the Black Album.
Yeah, so he's doing the Black Album, but for him, it's music, and so he does the music, and he'll put it into the context of what this piece of work is going to be. But if you remember, leading up to that, I think we had Camille, we had Dream Factory, we had a number of records, and I think one of the reasons why he was able just to put the brakes on that project was not because, he was suddenly induced by some drug that had, caused him to have this revelation. I think it was more he found a purpose, and he didn't feel that the Black Album had any more of a purpose than just another record to release a record. It was just another project to release a project because, everyone expected him to release a record. And if you listen to the Black Album, you kind of get that, even in its current form. It's like, well, what's the context of this record? What message is he trying to send? With
Right.
Lovesexy, he had a message, so there was this whole thing. He needed to say something other than just putting out another project. And so that's kind of, where the Black Album, I think, rested with him. That was kind of my thought behind it. And also, we had no idea it was going to become this sought after bootleg, huge thing, that it became like this mysterious record that thought never even crossed our mind. And to be honest, if it had, I would have just went in the storage room and grabbed 10 cases myself, but
Right.
it just wasn't a thing. It was Saturday night and he had a change of heart. And that's what it was for us at the time. It allowed him to go back in the studio, and he created another, piece of work.
So, and I think what you're saying aligns with what we know about Prince was that not he was on ecstasy, but we know that he gets into these modes where he hits an epiphany, kind of sort of like what happened with Rainbow Children, where something clicks with him spiritually, and he gets focused and he's targeted, and everything else be damned type of mode.
He writes his life.
And that's makes a lot more sense than, oh, he took ecstasy. Why would he do that? It's just it's not in his character.
Exactly. It's not in his character. And like I said, I mean, I had told him welcome back just because he didn't seem troubled or burdened anymore by whatever, he felt like he had a purpose in writing this other record instead. And that's what he did.
And he was back on track. Right. So somewhere between a supernatural intervention, and of course that kind of coupled with the spiritual guidance of a very young, enlightened woman named Ingrid Chavez, who's a dear friend to the show. She's been on the show a few times. Mm-hmm. He decides the album, the Black Album, for those, new Prince fans, is too dark. And he scraps the project and puts out the words to distributors to destroy all the copies before they're distributed. And to compensate for the album being pulled, he starts on this writing tear, writing about the dark force, who he names Spooky Electric. And, he puts together the album Lovesexy. That's the Reader's Digest version.